Brown bear. It is the most widely distributed bear species on Earth and one of the most recognizable large mammals in the world. Brown bears are found across an enormous geographic range, spanning the forests and mountains of North America, Scandinavia, Russia, the Caucasus, and parts of Central and East Asia. Despite sharing a single species name, they vary considerably in size and appearance depending on where they live. Coastal populations in Alaska, such as the famous Kodiak bear, grow far larger than their inland cousins, fueled by the extraordinary caloric richness of Pacific salmon. A brown bear's most reliable identifying features are the pronounced muscle hump over its shoulders, a slightly dished facial profile, and long front claws designed more for digging than for climbing. Their fur ranges from pale blonde to near black, and a single population can include animals of several different shades. Brown bears are true omnivores, eating almost anything the season offers: grasses, roots, berries, insects, ground squirrels, elk calves, and fish. In late summer and early autumn, they enter a phase of intense feeding called hyperphagia, consuming tens of thousands of calories each day to build the fat reserves needed to survive winter. They hibernate in dens they dig themselves or locate in natural shelters, and females give birth during this dormant period, nursing cubs that are surprisingly small at birth. Brown bears are intelligent and socially aware animals, with cubs spending 2 to 3 years learning survival behaviors from their mothers before living independently. Polar bear. At the northern edge of the world, where frozen ocean meets open sky, one species has pushed the limits of what a large mammal can endure. Polar bears are the largest land carnivores on Earth, with adult males regularly exceeding 500 kilograms. They are intimately tied to sea ice, which serves as their primary hunting platform. Their main prey is the ringed seal, which they catch by waiting motionless at breathing holes in the ice, sometimes for hours, before striking with explosive speed. This hunting method demands both immense patience and precise timing. Polar bears are powerful swimmers and have been tracked crossing stretches of open ocean spanning hundreds of kilometers, though long swims are energetically costly and can be dangerous in rough conditions. Their fur appears white or yellowish, providing camouflage in snowy terrain, but the individual hairs are actually hollow and transparent. Beneath their fur, the skin is entirely black, an adaptation that helps absorb and retain heat in an environment where temperatures can plunge to -40 degrees. Polar bears do not enter full hibernation. Only pregnant females den through winter, giving birth to 1, 2, or occasionally 3 cubs in snow dens that stay considerably warmer than the outside air. The rest of the population continues hunting year-round. Their entire existence is structured around sea ice, which is why the accelerating loss of Arctic ice cover poses such a direct and measurable threat to the species. Some populations have already shown declining body condition and reproductive rates tied directly to shorter ice seasons. American black bear, the most numerous bear species in the world, lives almost entirely within North America, and it is far more variable than its name implies. American black bears are found across Canada, much of the United States, and isolated pockets of Mexico, occupying a wider range of habitat types than any other bear, from boreal forests and Appalachian woodlands to desert mountains and Gulf Coast swamps. Their coat color is highly inconsistent across their range. In the eastern part of the continent, black is the overwhelmingly dominant color. Move west, and cinnamon and brown individuals become increasingly common. In parts of British Columbia, a recessive gene occasionally produces a cream or white-coated individual, a phenomenon covered separately among these bear types. American black bears are smaller and more lightly built than brown bears, and they retain the ability to climb trees throughout their lives. When threatened, their instinct is generally to flee or seek the safety of a tree, rather than stand and fight. This behavioral tendency has shaped their relationship with humans. They are far less likely to be involved in serious attacks than brown bears, though exceptions exist, particularly when food conditioning has altered their natural wariness. Their diet is overwhelmingly plant-based, shifting across the year from emerging vegetation and insects in spring, to fruits and berries through summer, to calorie-dense nuts like acorns and beech nuts in fall. Black bears are highly adaptable, and that adaptability has allowed their populations to recover substantially in many areas following the conservation efforts of the 20th century. Giant panda, China's most iconic animal, occupies an evolutionary position that puzzled scientists for well over a century. For decades, there was genuine debate about whether giant pandas were more closely related to bears or to raccoons. Genetic analysis eventually confirmed they are true bears, fully belonging to the family Ursidae, though their lifestyle has diverged so dramatically from other members of that family that they seem to occupy a category of their own. Giant pandas live in the cool, mist-shrouded bamboo forests of the Qinling, Minshan, Qionglai, and Daxiangling mountain ranges in central China. Bamboo is not a nutritious food source. It is fibrous, difficult to digest, and low in protein and fat. To compensate, pandas eat almost nothing else and must consume it in staggering quantities, between 12 and 38 kilograms per day, depending on the part of the plant they are eating. They spend 10 to 16 hours each day feeding. A specially adapted wrist structure and modified radial sesamoid bone that functions as a sixth digit allows them to grip bamboo stalks with a precision that their true paws alone could not achieve. Unlike most bears, giant pandas do not hibernate, because bamboo does not allow them to accumulate sufficient fat reserves to sustain a long period of dormancy. Their reproductive rate is very low. Females ovulate once per year and are receptive for only a few days, which makes population recovery slow, even under ideal conditions. Intensive conservation work, including captive breeding programs and the expansion of protected reserves, has contributed to a gradual but meaningful recovery in wild population numbers over recent decades. Spectacled bear. The only bear native to South America lives far from the ice sheets and salmon rivers associated with its northern relatives. The spectacled bear inhabits the Andes mountain range, ranging from Venezuela and Colombia in the north through Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia, with a small presence in northwestern Argentina. It is found across an unusually wide range of elevations and habitat types, from coastal desert scrub to high-altitude grasslands called paramos, though it is most commonly associated with the dense cloud forests that cling to the Andean slopes. Its name refers to the pale, often yellowish facial markings that circle its eyes and sometimes extend down the muzzle, creating a pattern that loosely resembles a pair of spectacles. No two individuals have identical markings, and researchers use these patterns as a natural identification tool in the field. Spectacled bears are the most herbivorous of all bear species, after the giant panda. Bromeliads form a particularly important part of their diet. They will tear apart these plants to reach the soft inner material, leaving distinctive shredded remains that betray their presence in an area. They also eat fruit, cacti, palm hearts, and sugarcane where it is available, along with occasional small animals. They are skilled and habitual climbers, sometimes constructing rough platforms of broken branches in the forest canopy where they rest and continue feeding over multiple days. Their shy, elusive nature makes study difficult, and much of their behavioral ecology remains incompletely understood. Ongoing habitat fragmentation is the primary threat to their survival. Sun bear. Across the tropical rainforests of Southeast Asia, a small, dark, and surprisingly fierce bear makes its living in the canopy and on the forest floor. The sun bear is the smallest of all living bear species, with adults typically weighing between 25 and 65 kilograms, far lighter than any of its relatives. It is found in Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, Thailand, Bangladesh, and parts of southern China and northeastern India. Despite its modest size, the sun bear has a reputation for intensity. It is regarded by many wildlife researchers as one of the more unpredictable and potentially dangerous bears when cornered or surprised, largely because its response to threat tends to be confrontational rather than evasive. Its fur is short and sleek, entirely suited to a warm, humid environment. A pale or orange crescent-shaped chest patch gives the species its name, though the shape and color vary between individuals. The sun bear's most extraordinary physical feature is its tongue, exceptionally long, slender, and flexible, evolved specifically for extracting honey from wild beehives and insects from deep within tree cavities. Its strong, sickle-shaped claws are equally well adapted, allowing it to tear through hardwood in pursuit of termites and beetle larvae. Sun bears are important contributors to forest health, dispersing seeds and creating tree cavities that other species use for nesting. Despite this ecological role, they remain among the least studied of all bears, and their populations have declined sharply due to deforestation and the illegal wildlife trade. Sloth bear. On the Indian subcontinent, one of the most acoustically distinctive animals in any forest makes its presence known long before it can be seen. The sloth bear lives across India, Sri Lanka, and Nepal, occupying a range of habitats from dry thorn scrub to moist deciduous forest. When European naturalists first encountered this animal in the late 18th century, they classified it as a kind of bear-sloth hybrid, which is where the misleading name originated. It is entirely a bear, but one that has evolved a suite of physical adaptations unlike anything else in the family. Its muzzle is long and mobile, with highly flexible lips and a gap in the upper front teeth. Together, these features create a biological vacuum pump. When a sloth bear reaches a termite mound, it exhales sharply to clear away dust and debris, then presses its lips against the surface and inhales with a force strong enough to pull insects directly into its mouth through the natural gap in its teeth. The suction noise this creates can be heard clearly from 100 meters or more away. Termites and ants make up the core of its diet, supplemented by fruit and honey. Sloth bear mothers carry their cubs on their backs, a behavior not seen in any other bear species and rare among large mammals generally. Cubs ride dorsally for several months, sometimes creating a writhing mass of young animals across the mother's back and shoulders. Despite this endearing image, sloth bears are known for aggressive encounters with humans, and attacks in rural India are not uncommon. Habitat loss and historical persecution have reduced their numbers significantly. Asiatic Black Bear. Across a broad arc of Asia, from Afghanistan and Pakistan through the Himalayas into Southeast Asia, northeastern China, the Korean Peninsula, and Japan, lives a medium-sized bear carrying one of the most distinctive markings in the family. The Asiatic Black Bear has a bold white or cream V-shaped patch on its chest set against otherwise black fur. This marking is consistent enough that the species is frequently called the moon bear, a name that has become widely used in conservation circles. The Asiatic Black Bear prefers forested mountainous terrain and is a capable climber, often foraging in trees for nuts, fruit, and honey. It is omnivorous but leans more heavily toward plant material than toward meat, though it will take livestock on occasion, which has historically put it in direct conflict with farming communities across its range. The Asiatic Black Bear has been at the center of one of the most criticized practices in wildlife exploitation, bear bile farming. The bile of bears contains a compound called ursodeoxycholic acid, which has legitimate pharmaceutical applications, and demand for it has driven the captive farming of Asiatic black bears in China, Vietnam, and South Korea under conditions that have drawn widespread international condemnation. Conservation organizations have worked for decades to eliminate the practice and develop synthetic alternatives with uneven progress. Wild populations vary considerably in stability. Some in protected forests remain relatively secure, while others in fragmented or heavily hunted landscapes have declined sharply. The species is listed as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List. Kermode Bear. Within the temperate rainforests of British Columbia's central and north coast, a small proportion of American black bears are born with fur that is white or pale cream. These animals are not albino. Their eyes are dark, and their skin normally pigmented. They are not polar bears or hybrids. They are simply black bears carrying two copies of a recessive gene variant that suppresses the production of dark pigment in the fur. The result is an animal that looks fundamentally different from its parents and siblings, both of whom may be entirely black. These bears are called Kermode bears, named after the naturalist Frank Kermode, who helped bring the phenomenon to scientific attention in the early 20th century. Locally, they are known as spirit bears, a name rooted in the oral traditions of several First Nations peoples of the region, for whom they carry deep spiritual and cultural significance. Research conducted in the Great Bear Rainforest has produced a genuinely interesting finding about the white coloration. When fishing in daylight, white-coated Kermode bears catch salmon at a measurably higher rate than their black-furred counterparts in the same area. Salmon viewing from below are less able to detect a pale form against a bright sky than a dark one, giving the white bears a functional advantage that has nothing to do with camouflage on land. The Great Bear Rainforest, one of the largest temperate rainforests remaining on the planet, is their stronghold, and its protection has become closely linked in public awareness with the survival of this rare and visually striking population. Grizzly Bear. In the mountains, river valleys, and open tundra of interior North America, the name grizzly carries a weight that few other animal names can match. Grizzly bears are a subspecies of brown bear, technically Ursus arctos horribilis, but in common usage, the name refers specifically to the inland brown bears of North America, distinguishing them from the larger coastal populations that have access to marine food sources. The name itself comes from the grizzled, silver-tipped appearance of their fur, which gives older individuals, in particular, a frosted, weathered look. Grizzlies are somewhat smaller on average than their coastal counterparts, though still formidable animals. Adult males in Yellowstone, for example, typically weigh between 150 and 300 kilograms. Their diet across the interior is necessarily more varied and seasonally constrained. Where salmon is unavailable, they rely heavily on whitebark pine seeds, army cutworm moths found at high altitude, ungulates, ground squirrels, and plant material. The loss of whitebark pine trees to a fungal disease called white pine blister rust has been a quiet but serious blow to grizzly populations in parts of the Rockies, removing one of their most important autumn fat sources. Grizzlies were once distributed across a vast portion of western North America, ranging into the Great Plains and deep into Mexico. Hunting and habitat conversion reduced that range dramatically over the 19th and 20th centuries. Recovery efforts, particularly in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem and the Northern Continental Divide, have seen populations increase, a conservation success that has also renewed debate about livestock depredation and the political dimensions of predator management. Cave bear. Among the great lost animals of the Pleistocene, one bears particular relevance to the story of bears as a family. The cave bear lived across Europe and Western Asia during the last ice age, disappearing approximately 24,000 years ago, recent enough that its bones, teeth, and even traces of its DNA have survived in excellent condition in the cold, dry environments of European caves. The name is not merely a metaphor. Cave bears used caves extensively, particularly for winter hibernation, and in some sites, the accumulation of their bones over thousands of generations is so dense that the floors are essentially composed of skeletal material. Some of the most studied cave systems in France, Spain, Austria, and Romania have yielded tens of thousands of individual specimens, making the cave bear one of the best documented extinct mammals in the fossil record. Cave bears were large, comparable in size to the largest modern brown bears, but their anatomy suggests they were substantially more herbivorous. Their teeth were broad and heavily worn in ways consistent with grinding plant material rather than processing meat. Ancient humans shared these cave systems on and off with cave bears, and there has been long-running speculation about the nature of that interaction, whether bears were hunted, avoided, or regarded with particular significance. Genetic studies have shown that cave bears and modern brown bears occasionally interbred, and traces of cave bear ancestry can still be detected in the genomes of some present-day brown bear populations. Short-faced bear. North America's Pleistocene was a place of extraordinary predators, and among them was a bear that stands out even in that formidable company. Arctodus simus, the giant short-faced bear, is estimated to have been among the largest terrestrial mammalian carnivores ever to have lived. Some reconstructions place the largest individuals at weights approaching 900 kilograms, though typical adults were likely in the range of 400 to 600 kilograms. What made this animal particularly unusual was its body proportions. Unlike modern bears, which are built compactly and close to the ground, Arctodus had notably long legs relative to its body size. Standing on all fours, a large individual would have been roughly at eye level with a modern human. The shortened facial structure that gives the species its name created a different jaw geometry than typical bears, one that some researchers have argued was adapted for processing large amounts of meat, though this interpretation is contested. A competing view holds that Arctodus was primarily a scavenger of megafaunal carcasses, using its size and speed to displace other predators from kills rather than bringing down prey itself. Some analyses of its bone chemistry suggest a diet higher in plant material than its physical proportions might suggest, leaving its ecological role genuinely unresolved. Arctodus simus lived alongside mammoths, giant ground sloths, American horses, and camels, disappearing along with much of that megafauna at the close of the Pleistocene. Whether human hunting pressure, climate-driven habitat change, or some combination of both drove its extinction is still a matter of active scientific discussion.